it's Anita T from factversusfitness.com, here to give you more science and gut health facts that are totally off the book. Today I wanted to talk in particular about a really interesting article that I was reading, and it was actually about a mother and how she was discussing that she has a lot of problems buying products for her kid. And the reason for that is she sees just a lot of conflicting evidence when she tries to read about these products. And on one hand, she's hearing, wow, they're so good for you, you need these products. And on the other hand, she's reading that they are incredibly toxic. And she just explained that she's super confused as a mom. And I understand that because I feel like a lot of you guys are probably like that too. And when I read a lot of these headlines, I understand how confusing the headlines and advertising can be to a consumer in the consumer marketplace. So I definitely wanted to clear that up for you guys today and tell you exactly how and where you can get a little bit better advice to know what you're purchasing and whether or not it's really something that's going to benefit you and is worth your time and money. So let's get started. Okay, so I want to start off by asking you guys to ask yourselves, do you commonly get your health information from watching the news or from, news articles, blog posts, anything like that? Yes? Raise your hand. Maybe don't because you're home alone. Give a thumbs up instead. But if you guys do, this video is really, really important for you because as a nutritional scientist, I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely the worst place you can be getting your health information. And it can actually be really, really damaging to your health. And this is not, any sort of exaggeration. This is really, really true. It's the absolute worst place to get your health information. And so I'm going to explain to you guys exactly why that is. So I get a lot of clients who come to me and they have actually gotten certain information on their health from a single news article or a single blog post where they didn't necessarily check the reputability of the website. And they are often doing like one or two or a dozen things for their health that actually are really, really damaging to whatever condition they have and whatever their health condition is. And the reason that I'm so in tune with this is because I deal with it on a daily basis. And often these people are experiencing chronic symptoms that are perpetuating digestive symptoms, things like that, that they're really trying to make better. And we really often make them better together by doing the exact opposite of what they've been told to do. And this isn't a small circumstance. This is something that happens really, really often. So that's why it's so important. Okay, so the reason that it's so difficult to take advice based on any single study is basically because there's a lot of factors that go into analyzing whether or not the study is even legitimate or something worth looking at. And that's things like study size, study duration, how well the factors were controlled for, what journal, how much peer review it had done, even what species it was done on. And really the statistical analysis and all these different factors that go into it are quite intensive. And so these are things that I didn't actually know until I was at a master's degree level. So, I knew about them in my bachelor's, but we didn't apply them so much. So you can imagine even somebody with a Bachelor of Science in human biology, I still felt really, really confused as to how to assess, who was giving me the right story and who should I actually be listening to. To give you guys an idea of what it's like to a scientist when, people are basing all of their results and their health information on single studies, is that imagine if I decided to predict the probability of a car accident happening. And let's say I go in front of my house and I see a car accident that day. It would be pretty ridiculous for me to draw the conclusion that every single day I'm gonna walk out of my house and a car accident's gonna happen. Of course, that would be a little bit crazy, but that is literally and exactly what's going on when a lot of people use one single study for their whole health advice and really carry it on for years and years in their whole life. They don't actually know if what they're doing is the proper thing to be doing at all, and they're surrounding their life around it. So one of the places that I really often see this is in blog posts from non-expert scientists, and their motives are very noble, but what they accidentally end up doing is they don't properly know how to look at these studies, and they go and they find one or a couple of studies without properly researching them, and they take the results of those studies and they write a whole blog post on them. And everyone who comes by and sees these blogs sees these same conclusions and starts to take that as health advice. So it's sort of a chain of misinterpretation. And even though their motives are really noble, they unintentionally end up perpetuating false health advice that people live by. Another major issue that I see is often when it comes to advertising outlets that they're trying to push particular products, is what they'll actually do is there could be, say, literally hundreds or even thousands of studies, the majority of the study pool against the product that they're trying to sell. But of course, due to probability or other factors, there will be a few outlying studies that actually support the product they're trying to sell. And they'll actually use those few outlying studies to push their own product. So, I mean, I look at this as lying to the public. Some people may say they're just concealing certain truths, but I think that's all the same thing, and it's definitely really negative for the result that people get in the public because they do waste their time and money and risk their health. So you guys might be a little bit surprised, but the most common culprit that I really see of this as well, or one of the most common, is media outlets, like really seemingly reputable media outlets. To give you guys an idea, some of the recent stories that I have read, the recent headlines that I've seen, are things like feeding kids candy reduces their risk of obesity, feeding kids ice cream for breakfast increases their mental functioning and school performance. And most recently I saw one saying that going gluten-free gives you a higher chance of type 2 diabetes. So these are all real stories that were published. I'm not making any of them up. They're actually real, which is so bizarre because it goes against all scientific evidence. This is coming to you straight from a scientist. I read the news on health and they are literally pushing science backwards and saying things against science. So I definitely would not rely on them. I'm not saying they get it wrong every single time, but feeding your kids ice cream does not make them smarter, and going gluten-free does not increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. Just so you guys know, just to clarify that, okay? So basically the major danger of this, the reason that I made this video and that it's so important, is I wanted to stress so much that the media, these, outlets, advertising, they tend to have a really large voice that's so much greater than that of the actual scientists who are actually doing a lot of research. Of course, that's not always the case, but in general, on a global scale, it absolutely is. And so these people who are non-experts, non-scientists, are really pushing these stories to do it for their own interests or to create shocking headlines. But we as scientists are kind of sitting here in the corner going, well, everything, food companies, media outlets, advertising agencies, popular blogs, all of these things, we're looking at them and thinking that is such a shame because it is damaging public health. It is really damaging the public's health, and they have such a louder voice that even though we try and correct them, it becomes really difficult for us to reach nearly as many people. One huge example of this that I'll just give you guys before we head out and finish up is one that you probably have tried before yourself, is the decades and decades of low-fat dieting that has been followed by the masses. It's been talked about by the government, all of this different stuff that you see promoting a low-fat diet. And it turns out, when we look into it, that this information and the obsession with it was actually based on nothing. It was based on no scientific evidence. There was one very, very poorly conducted study done in the 60s. Other than that, we're actually seeing that low-fat dieting for a long term can cause digestive health issues and other chronic illnesses. I'll link a video on that I've actually created so that you guys can understand a little bit more about that. But it turns out, we've followed this for decades, some people for their whole lives, and actually causes health problems. So whoopsie daisy. So guys, the takeaway from this video is just be a little bit more aware of who you're listening to. Things can get a lot less confusing if you are listening to one very reputable source or a few very reputable sources to get some different perspectives. Just because it's in the media, don't fall for such catchy headlines all the time. Just because you read it, it doesn't make it true. Just because it's advertised, it doesn't make it true. And just because it's on the internet, on a blog, it doesn't make it true. Health blogs can be started by anyone. My neighbor could start a health blog. I could start a health blog for my cat. It doesn't really matter. So just, yeah, be a little bit more aware. That's literally why I started this channel, is I want to be more of a voice between the scientific community and the public, because as I said, our voice is not so loud right now, unfortunately. So if you guys want to support that and support the spread of real science-based information for your health and nutrition, please support this movement by subscribing to my channel below. I really appreciate it, and we want to grow this voice as loud as we can so that you guys can really know what you're talking about and really get the right information. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I hope it really helped, and I will catch you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you want a scientist on your side, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.